The Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Benny stared at his notebook, tapping his pencil in frustration. His history assignment loomed over him, right about Babylon and its wonders. He had tried flipping through his textbook, but the words just swam on the page. Sighing, he stuffed the notebook into his backpack. "Time to visit Granddad," Benny muttered. When Benny arrived at Granddad's cozy study, he found him surrounded by his favorite old books and maps. "Struggling with history again, are we?" Granddad asked with a knowing smile. Benny nodded. "I just don't know where to start." Granddad leaned forward, his eyes twinkling, as they always did when he had a secret to share. "Sometimes the best way to learn history is to see it for yourself." He reached into a trunk and pulled out a backpack. Benny recognized it instantly, a dusty old backpack with strange patterns stitched on it. Each time he used it, the backpack whisked him away to a different time and place. Granddad handed it over, his expression serious. "You know the rules, Benny. Don't interfere with history. Just observe, learn, and come back safe." Benny unzipped the backpack, and immediately a golden light poured out. "I promise, Granddad." Before he knew it, the world swirled around him like a spinning top. When the swirling stopped, Benny found himself standing in a very different place. The warm air smelled of dust and flowers, and the sounds of construction and workers filled the air. He looked around in amazement. He was in ancient Babylon during the time of the Hanging Gardens. The city was alive with activity. Workers in tunics and sandals were building and carving. At the same time, people traded goods in bustling markets. The towering ziggurat loomed in the distance, and Benny could see the outlines of magnificent gardens rising above the city walls. He could hardly believe it. "Whoa," Benny whispered. "I'm here." A voice interrupted his thoughts. "Hey! Over here!" Benny turned to see a boy about his age, carrying a basket of herbs. "I'm Kadan," the boy said, smiling. "You look like you're not from around here. Are you here to see the gardens?" "Yeah," Benny said with a grin. "I'm really curious about them." Kadan smiled back. "Come with me. You won't believe what's inside." As Kadan led Benny toward the gardens, he explained more. The Hanging Gardens were built by King Nebuchadnezzar for his wife, Amytes. She missed the green hills of her homeland, so he created this wonder to remind her of them. Benny stared up in awe at the massive, terraced gardens rising in front of him. "I've heard about these, but they look even more amazing in person." Kadan nodded. "Yes, they're beautiful, but they also show the greatness of Babylon's engineering. It's not just plants, they're carefully designed, and the water system is a marvel." Benny followed Kadan, who led him to a large stone structure beside the gardens. "This is an Archimedean screw," Kadan explained. "It's one of the ways we lift water from the Euphrates River to the top of the gardens." Benny leaned in closer, studying the massive spiral. "This thing lifts water all the way up there?" he asked, amazed. "It does," Kadan said. "Without the water, the gardens wouldn't survive in this dry desert. This screw helps keep them alive, even in the heat of summer." Benny marveled at the cleverness of it all. "I never imagined how much engineering went into something like this." As they walked through the gardens, Benny admired the tall trees, vibrant flowers, and vines cascading down the terraces. The gardens were truly an oasis in the middle of the desert. "These gardens must require a lot of care," he remarked. Kadan grinned. "They do, but it's worth it. The workers take great pride in the gardens, just like the king. It's a place for beauty, peace, and honoring the gods." Benny paused to watch a worker carefully trimming the vines. "It's incredible how much effort goes into maintaining them, and how significant they are to the people here." Kadan nodded in agreement. "Exactly. The gardens symbolize what we can create, even in the harshest conditions. They represent Babylon's strength and creativity, and they serve as a place for people to come together and appreciate nature." As the sun began to set over Babylon, Benny felt a familiar hum from his backpack. It was time to go. "Thanks, Kadan," said Benny. I learned so much today. Kadan smiled. Keep learning, Benny. That's the greatest treasure of all. Benny unzipped the backpack, and the golden glow enveloped him as he was pulled back home. Once in his room, Benny grabbed his notebook and began writing his essay. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon was not only a beautiful creation but also a testament to the engineering brilliance of the Babylonian people. The gardens were built to honor the queen, and their survival in the harsh desert environment was made possible by clever irrigation systems like the Archimedean screw. These gardens represent the creative spirit of Babylon and the love between a king and his queen. As he finished, Benny tucked a small leaf from one of the gardens into his notebook, a reminder of his journey and the lesson he learned.